Welcome to episode number 7 of the WWIM podcast. That's WWIM podcast, Women Who Inspire Me. Our guest today is the beautiful, lovely, creative, hilarious, empathetic, caring Stacy Kendro. Thank you so much for coming on today, Stacy.
Wow, that was a cool intro. I
Well,
never got empathetic before. Okay. Interesting angle. I like that.
Not true, it's true.
Yeah, sure.
Very true.
Sure.
So tell us your life story, Stacy. What made you Stacy, the Stacy Kendro that we have here today?
That's always your opening question?
No,
really.
No.
No.
You can talk about whatever you want. But.
No. How far back do you want to go? I mean,
you grew up in Massachusetts, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I was in Tewksbury. Sort of a lot of trauma when I was younger. My mother had mental illness. God, this is terrible to open with this. But
it's what made you who you are today. So yeah,
part of it. So unfortunately, she just, back then she was in therapy and everything, but they didn't have quite, I think, the understanding with meds and how to treat. She was never officially diagnosed either, but. There's a lot of factors. I don't want to get into all of them.
Yeah,
but she had a stillborn after. So my sister was born. My sister's developmentally disabled and autistic. So highly special needs, wicked hyperactive. So just way more of a handful than. And then back then, they didn't have the concept of you need help when you have a kid like that. It's okay to have someone even live in the house or have a program or.
Or they didn't even have the this person needs this kind of help. This person needs it. Was just you're not normal. So
I'm talking about for families.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha.
So
sorry, yeah.
There was very little. There was probably something out there. I think I can't speak for them. I don't know exactly what it was like, but it would have helped a lot if my mother already had kind of emotional problems, already had some mental illness going on, and then dealing with that kind of a challenge, and then no grandparents or even my aunts and uncles, they're all from Philly.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
So no one's in Boston, you know what I mean? So taking that on, and then I don't know. I mean, my parents might have been mismatched. They're really products of the 50s, so their idea of what marriage is, and then actually being in the 70s after Gloria Steinem and after things are changing, those rigid gender roles. I think my father probably scolded my mother for her mental illness instead of trying to help her.
Right.
But that just comes from his parents are immigrants from Albania, so sort of old world thinking.
Right.
So. Then after I was born, I think they had a baby. They had a baby to be the savior baby of their marriage, and it was a boy, and it was stillborn.
Oh, jeez.
And that was sort of, I think, the end for my mother. She had a nervous breakdown. She went to McLean's, and she left. And I was 6.
Wow.
And then my sister went to it's terrible. I can't even get into it, but she went to foster care and stuff.
Yeah.
It was really bad. So then my father and I ended up living with my father in Brookline. And I was so little. I mean, you're so little at that age. I mean, it's why do you do stand up? Well, I mean, so I need to laugh because of all this,
Right.
So Brookline sort of was good for me. I got a lot of friends. It was the city, and there was resources. I did dance, and I did, I got a lot of friends, and I guess, friends' mothers and babysitters are what helped. Actually, this is funny. So one of the babysitters, right? So we lived in this big apartment complex in Brookline, near Brighton.
Yep.
Near Com Ave. So in this apartment complex, remember Sha-Na-Na?
The show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the group.
Yeah.
So remember the group Sha-Na-Na? So there was 2 guys who sang the romantic songs. Yeah. So it was one of those guys, Mother. That was my babysitter.
Whoa!
Yes, yes, and he would visit.
Get you into it? Or?
I would stay for the whole weekend with her in her apartment, and sometimes he'd be visiting and he'd be singing through the apartment. And what a beautiful voice he had! Oh my God! Yeah, so that was one of my babysitters. But so I think things started to kind of even out a little bit in Brookline.
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit older. I would visit my mother. My mother lived in this weird residence with other depressive women.
Oh, geez.
So, okay, so that's that. We played ping pong. That's what depressed people do. So then there was another wrench thrown in my story because my father met this alcoholic and decided to marry her. So then we had to go to her house in Needham, which I hate Needham to this day.
Because of that.
So anyway, so that kind of wrecked my life. That wrecked my life because they had a terrible marriage. They were drunk. They were fighting.
Jesus.
So that was like 3 years of that. And then, thank God, in the summers I went to Philly and stayed with my grandmother, my Albanian grandmother.
Yeah.
And I think that's like kind of saved me.
Okay. Wow.
You know? So.
A lot of trauma to deal with.
A lot of trauma.
Growing up.
I think I'm still, yeah.
It's still, yeah. Do we really ever get 100% over stuff? I don't.
Well, I think I stuffed it all down.
Yeah, okay.
You know, that's what people tend to do, I think. Or try to like save face too. Like people probably wouldn't have known it about me. Some people did, but you hide it. You learn to hide it well, but that's not dealing with it.
Right.
Yeah. It took me a long time to figure out how to deal with it. So, yeah.
But you persevered. You graduated high school. You got, you went on. You still a productive member of society.
Oh, well, sort of.
Yeah, well,
Still,
maybe not.
The jury's still out on that one. No, but I went to Northeastern. Like, that was a big accomplishment for me. Because in high school, I was kind of like, I fucked off. I smoked pot and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. And then actually, when I graduated high school, I sort of straightened out. And I went to Northeastern and graduated with honors. So that was a big, in art and theater. So, I'm definitely
you are an artist, correct? So
is
were you doing that in high school, or did Northeastern kind of okay?
Yeah, I was doing it in high school. I just could draw. Nobody showed me. I could just do it. So, in college, like I went to Northeastern because I wanted to do other stuff too, and learn about other things. But I also, developed my talent and brought it into some sculpture, but more painting. Yeah. And then I went to Mass Art for like part-time for like a couple years.
Oh, I didn't.
And did even more studio work. So I was like an obsessive painter for like 10 years. But you know what happened? And I was thinking about this the other day because I was like, it's so weird that I loved painting and stuff, but it was so isolating. You're by yourself. It's almost like writing. So I was around stand-up so much because I worked at Nick's Comedy Stop as a waitress. And for years. So I was around it, and I just like kept looking at that probably like because it's so social and it's so you're connecting with people, and I think that attracted me to it. Yeah. So I sort of eventually painting kind of got eclipsed out of my life. I mean, I still have made paintings here and there, but nothing like I used to paint all the time. I used to be in my studio like 5 days a week. In Dorchester. But anyway.
And then you did an open mic?
Then I did an open mic. Yeah. I think I did the Vault the first time.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my God, the Vault.
I only went to one show there. I went to a show. I never performed there. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I had been into stand-up probably since junior high school, but I would just listen to it and watch it. The first actual live comedy show I went to was in the Vault, and it was an open mic. It was I think they did them on Sundays back then too. Yeah. And I was like, wow. I never even, I think I was a freshman in college when I went to that show. Or no, I went to shows before that. Anyway, I never said, I want to do that, but I enjoyed it.
Well, their mic is good, was good.
Oh, was amazing, right? Because like
pros would drop in.
Right.
So it wasn't like terrible open mic.
There's so many of them.
Who ran it?
Dick Doherty.
Yeah. And then
and he had other people run it for him, but then his wife eventually, but it was his room. It was a cool room.
It was great.
I used to drop in and watch my friends.
I've heard stories,
Yeah.
How did your first one go?
Well, I didn't know I was going on.
Oh, jeez.
So somebody told the MC, like, bring her on. She's funny. She's always making jokes at Nick's, waitressing and stuff. She's funny. I know she's going to be funny. Put her on. So the MC, I went to go see, like, I think it was Dan Miller or somebody like that. Just like, the waitresses used to go there after our shift and like have a drink and watch more comedy. But anyway, because our friends all did it. So we're there. And anyway, the MC, it was John David. Introduces me. And I'm like looking around, like, at first I got like a wave of like First, I think I was just like, no, that's ridiculous, even though I sort of wanted to.
Yeah.
And then my friend's like, no, you have to go. And they sort of egged me on. I was like, no, okay. And then I went up. So I didn't really have anything prepared. I just told some story about one of the waitresses. And, I was doing this like with the light and stuff. And it was a little bit awkward, but I got laughs. And then.
And that was,
nice.
You're like, I want to do this again.
I want to do it again, but I actually didn't pursue it again for probably a couple years later.
Yeah.
But that was like my first time.
Nice.
I think it's because then I was like, okay, now I got to write stuff.
Right.
That's why it took me a while to actually do it, because I'm like being around comedy, and at the time I married a comic, and just being around it so much, I knew what sort of in a way was a punchline. Like I knew I had to get something. So it took me a couple years to grow more balls and do it again.
And now.
I know now.
You don't even think of
it. Still doing it.
Well, yeah. And enjoying it and loving it.
It's good. It's good. I mean, it's definitely been weird with the pandemic. And I mean, I think the opening of Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up, he says stand-up comedy is rarely performed in the ideal circumstances, which is so true. Like I'm like in a parking lot going, so anyway, my hip hurts, I'm getting older.
Well, then the COVID, they started doing drive-in shows like.
I did a roof. It was like windy. We're deep in Brooklyn too. I'm like, I'm gonna get stabbed. This is great. I'm gonna get carjacked and then stabbed, so I can tell some jokes.
And then the online, I wasn't on, but I watched a couple online things, and they just weren't. It wasn't funny.
I know. Yeah. I did a few. I wouldn't say like more than 5, but maybe not as many as 10. Somewhere around handful. And
then there was one I saw. Someone did like a game trivia thing with comedians. That was actually good. Like that was funny, but try to do stand up in front of no one is like
doing stand up to the laptop. I mean, a couple of them I got paid for, so I didn't mind. I that makes it like you go, all right, I can put up with this.
When you're
there's nothing else going on either. In the pandemic, I was like, really, it wasn't good for me.
When you were first getting into it and thinking about performing, were there people that you thought of like aspired to or just were influenced by or favorite comedians?
Like when I started?
When you first started, were you like, oh, that's the style I want, or that person's hilarious, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of influence. I mean, what's funny is my dad, was a big comedy fan. So it's like no shock that I married a comic. But the bigger shock is that I became a comic, I think. But yeah, my dad loved Johnny Carson. My dad loved George Carlin and Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Loved Johnny Carson. But anyway, and then the guests that would come on, Chandling and all this. Yeah. So I was already, and he would play like Spike Jones records for me and stuff. We didn't really have Pryor, but he did like, what's his name? Bob Newhart.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, who actually, Bob Newhart's act is actually Jackie
Gleason?
Berman, I think, from San Francisco.
Oh.
There was a guy who totally did the telephone bit.
And he just took it.
And
now it's his.
Yes.
Right, because that's what everyone knows, right?
Yeah, he just took it. And
then that happened a lot more. I don't know if that happened a lot more, but like maybe there just weren't as many resources that you could call someone out for doing that.
You couldn't prove it.
Yeah, right.
You couldn't prove it. Well, it's probably an old vaudeville bit.
But that's what I'm saying.
But you know what it is? It's that Newhart got big, and the other guy was big-ish, but not as big. Right. And then Newhart got a show. Right. But Newhart's funny, nevertheless. But I think it's Jackie Berman. Look him up. It's really he's really great. But back
were you,
then.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you get married to a comic before you were doing stand up?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, not to bring it down another note, but
right.
But like my mom died, so I graduated college when I was like roughly like 24. My mother died when I was 25, and then I got married at 26.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with in life.
Yeah, I was having these dreams about like tidal waves and stuff.
Right,
you know
what
I mean? Which makes sense because it's like, holy shit.
That's what happened.
Yeah, so much
tidal
change
wave in your life. Wow.
Yeah. So, but influences, I mean, I loved Carlin. I still do to this day. I think he's the best. Like, there's nobody better. Hello.
Did you watch the HBO documentary?
No, I haven't yet.
I told you. Yeah.
I haven't yet.
So good.
I know. I think I don't have HBO right now.
Well, get a trial account, HBO Max.
Oh,
Just
smart.
get a 1 week trial so you can watch
Or
it.
on Hulu, I could probably get the extension
Yeah.
for like whatever. Yeah, but
Did you have any female comics that you aspire to?
I mean, I read Phyllis Diller's book, which was great. I think it was called like a lampshade in a whorehouse. That's her memoir. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, and then I read, I don't know when I read those, but like probably later on after I was doing stand up a while. But did I read Joan Rivers? No, maybe I didn't read. I don't know.
Speaking of, you performed with her once.
I did.
Correct?
I met her. Yeah.
What was that? What was that experience
That
like?
was I only got to talk to her for a few minutes, but she was great. I mean, she was really doing stand up and like mixing it with kind of they call it like thought leaders, right? It's like motivational speaking sounds not quite right, but kind of like working on yourself, figuring out how to give back to the world, not sort of having your inner critic rule things. Like she said to the audience, she was like, listen, you think I'm in show business. She talked like, listen, honey, I think you're in show business, like everything's fine. She's like, my husband killed himself. He did. Her husband committed suicide, and she's like, I got fired off the Tonight Show. She's like, life it's going to throw you, no
matter where you are professionally
right.
or, yeah.
And so she had kind of this, I don't know how else to call it, but like motivational edge. And then she would have jokes that, were her act, but she like wove it together seamlessly. And I sort of like always wanted to do that. And now that I'm older, I'm like trying to write that.
The one-woman show.
Well, I don't know if
no?
I'm going to make it a one-woman show.
I don't know what's the difference between a one-woman show and a...
And stand-up?
Yeah.
Or,
or whatever Joan Rivers was doing, you'd call. Like what?
Well, I think a one-woman show is a story.
Okay. So it has a beginning, middle,
kind
like
of,
cohesive
yeah.
narrative kind of thing.
And and there's different things you can use like with it. You can use music. It's more theatrical.
Yeah.
You can use like lighting cues and sound cues and different things. Yeah, I feel like a one-person show, it's kind of bastardized. A lot of comics do it, but it's really them doing stand-up. So really good ones, it's like you'd have to research it and get really, I think Bo Berman's is because he's just brilliant anyway. I don't know if he has a one-man show or if he's just... He's like...
Bo? Did you say Bo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The thing you did on Netflix? Yeah, I thought you said Bill.
Bill Berman.
Yeah, Bo Berman. I was like, that was really good.
Oh, that's the guy from Market Basket. Bill Berman bags my groceries. So that was incredible to meet her. But yeah, so that's like the biggest thing on my agenda right now is to, I think like what it kind of ends up being a little bit more like is public speaking, whereas a one-man show is theater. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So you would give a talk, you just make more money if you're giving a talk, like at a college or for women's groups, which that's kind of the direction I want it to go in.
Okay. Yeah, how do you is there a college, like, there's not like a college network?
I don't know,
like,
as a speaker, you probably have to, I don't know. That's another, I want to write it first and then get, I haven't got to that bridge yet. But for influences, though, I really like, and it is a lot more men, I got to be honest.
Well, just numbers-wise, right?
Like, I remember Ellen, I remember liking Ellen. We're just talking about back in the day, right?
Yeah.
When I was a newish comic. And there's some comics in L.A. Like I did this show with Caroline Ray called, I don't remember the name. Oh, Marshall's Women of Comedy. That's what Marshall's Women of Comedy. And it was kind of a contest for some amateur comedians at the beginning of it. And then there was like a big finale show that was like at a big theater. It might have been the Comedy Connection so long ago. But anyway, she was great. But so a little bit of influence from her. And the other comedians she had on there, I'm not going to remember their names because it was so long ago. But they were great, great, great writers. So, but they're not big enough that people would know. But for other influences, definitely Richard Jenny.
Yeah,
he was great.
People forget about him.
I know. And he was actually, you know how good he was? I was in Vegas. They were doing this anniversary show at the Tropicana. This is where like this guy, Bob Kephart, it was his room for 25 years at the Trop on the Strip in Vegas. Anyway, so he would have once a year, he'd have this anniversary party and have like balloons and like champagne toast. And now the comics brought their wives and everybody was, it was a big to do. And Richard Jenny was on it one year. along with a couple other really big people who I also can't remember now. But, you know, his regulars, maybe like Jimmy Walker and Dom Irero, like big names. So, you know who walks in when Jenny's on? Who walks in to, like, watch Jenny? George Carlin.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Right.
That says a lot.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Like, he's actually watching him work out. Wow. Yeah. So I would say those two. I mean, like, Pryor, I mean, I think he's great. It's not that he's not great. It's just that I just kind of really like what Jenny was doing because it was so creative and just, I don't know.
Well, you can, I tell this to one of my buddies all the time. You can argue, not about comedy, but like it applies, you know, like who's the best guitar player? I'm like, well, you can't really say that because it's whatever, there's tons of guys that are amazing and whichever one resonates the most with you, that's the one you're going to think is the best.
Yeah,
right?
it's subjective
yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. Comedy, George Carlin, watching.
Jenny, just like...
Pryor's great, but not...
Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Love Bill Hicks because he got political. Like,
yeah.
so they're all... You know, I don't know that Jenny really gets political. He has maybe some social comedy. He's just so fucking funny and a great writer. But, like, Hicks and Carlin really are like, trying to point things out of the ills of society.
Right.
I mean, that's what all comics are kind of doing-ish. Yeah. But those two really did it. And the other one I really like is Doug Stanhope. I just love him. I just love him. Yeah. Brilliant. And Louis C.K.
Yep.
But that's later on. Like when I was coming up, I didn't know who Louis C.K. was. No. You know? But,
well, he wasn't pumping out a special a year.
Right.
Pumping out what?
He would do like a extra hour, a new hour every year. He would do. Louis C.K.
Yeah, he was trying to emulate Carlin. That's why.
Is that Because Carlin did the same. He would do HBO after HBO after.
Still,
HBO.
nobody's beat Carlin's record.
No.
But then out a couple more like rungs would be like Attell and you know, I saw Colin Quinn's one-man shows. I saw like 3 of them.
So clean comics aren't your.
What are you going to talk about? The ice cream truck? That's brilliant. No, I mean.
So you do not like Jim Gaffigan?
Oh, he's all right. Yeah.
But not. You don't put him up there.
I mean, he's good. Mundane. He's a great writer.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, I just probably haven't watched a lot of him recently. But yeah, I remember him being on Comics Come Home, and I was backstage, and
were you on Comics Come Home?
No, but the person I was married to was
he
was. He
is every year, isn't he?
Well, I don't know about every year, but
okay, yeah.
Actually, to his benefit, I want to say, one year they put him on first. You know, it was kind of like throwing him under the bus because there's a lot of headliners. Somebody's got to go first, but it kind of seemed like a kind of an FU at the time.
Oh, okay. So
I think it was hosted by Leary and whatever.
Yeah.
And even though whatever we don't talk or whatever, and I kind of hate him, but but he went on first and he did really like he just was on. He was on, and his writing and his pacing that everybody had sort of trouble following him.
Right.
Like it was kind of interesting to see that.
Well, there's no real because they're all headliners.
They're all headliners, but also you know like they tried to kind of just give him the crappy spot, and then it backfired on them.
Well, that's what I heard, and you might have witnessed this firsthand. That Knicks would have. They'd have all these national touring acts. This might have been before you were working there, but they'd be these all national touring acts, and the Boston host, who in that scene, like just Boston comedy was, you know, was.
Well, back then they used headliners to host a lot of times.
I was gonna say, and they would crush, and then the actual headliner would come out and struggle because the Boston headlining hosts were just so good.
Yeah, and that happens in other towns too. So like if you're in Chicago and you're from Boston or whatever, and they got these locals on that like know how to work that room and that crowd and that whatever demographic. Yeah.
Well, I was actually talking to Mark about this earlier. It was something I heard from you. One of the steps you have to make is having that material. I think you call it bulletproof. That material that is going to kill no matter where you are, no matter who you're talking to. It's just that.
Well, what's funny about that is my buddy, me and him were just messengering.
Texting?
Texting? No, Facebook Messenger.
Oh, okay.
Why I don't know. Well, because he's in the Bahamas, and I was like assuming his text wouldn't work, but he went down. So he's a Jersey comic. He's like nuts. Like he's been around a long time. He's like my best friend. He's in my mob shorts.
Okay, yeah.
The big guy.
Yep.
So he was in the Bahamas, and he wrote like I bombed the first 2 nights, and I'm like, well, you know, and I sort of said like, you know, try try not talking to them too much. I go, try just like doing material, but like maybe try to write some material about the resort.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, write a few things. They don't have to even be brilliant, but just like to bring them in.
Right.
And then what else did I say? I said a couple other things. And, I said also like in Vegas, when I first started working in Vegas, it would take me half the week before I would have a good set. Because a lot of times they had me host when I was a younger comic.
Yeah.
It was the hardest spot.
Right.
And I'd be like, like I felt like a dancing mic. I had to take so much energy. Like I would try to be high energy and like make fun of like the waitresses
Right.
and like the old guys that have no hair and whatever. Just to, and make jokes about the bus. It was called the Deuce. I forget what my joke was. It was just like, because it was so slow. It would just like totally inch along and then stop and like 40 people would get on. It was like, but I forget what the jokes were. But anyway, it took me a long time to do well and to figure out what that room wanted. I mean, they had timeshare people with the audience, so they weren't even comedian fans or comedy fans. So anyway, he said the third night he did great.
Oh, good.
Last night he killed, he said. But yeah, it's like, so sometimes that tried, tested, and true.
Right.
I'm going to try Canada next week in Vancouver, and I'm nervous. Like,
Is there an open
It's
mic?
like-
Have you heard of it?
yeah, it's 3,000 miles away from.
This is Mark,
wherever.
our tech studio sound person, talking. Everyone I can't see him.
Yeah,
But.
so that'll be the first time outside of the Boston
Oh.
market that I'm going to try stand up. And
Oh, but I
I do
think-
not expect it to go well.
I think it will, because it's like, there's something about Vancouver is just really cool.
It
and
is
I
a
think
cool
people
place.
are like laid back, but it's like it's a metropolitan area, so it's not like it's going to be like cow country and weird.
Yeah, I guess a city-ish type of.
Oh, and Canadians
Yeah.
are so polite. You're going to kill.
And they're
I'm
and
telling you.
American comedians. They think
They love
we're
us.
all that we all rock for some reason.
I know.
I think we're
They
the.
haven't figured it out yet.
I know. I always wanted to go to the UK because of that. Like, they love American
But
comics
it's funny,
over there.
all the big stars in movies, like comedic actors, are Canadian.
Yeah.
So you would think they would want to. They would
Right.
think they're better.
Right.
Yeah, what's
But
his
they-
name? Eugene Levy.
Eugene Levy, Mike Myers,
Yeah, you can go
Ryan
on and on.
Reynolds is Canadian,
Short,
but he's
right,
not really a
Martin
comic. What's that?
Martin Short.
Yeah,
from
I
there.
think so. Everybody in those movies,
Mike
those
Myers.
John Candy.
Yeah.
you could actually list a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, it's like there's a Canadian list and there's a Boston list, and then New York. I mean, a lot of comics. Are
That's
from
funny.
New
It's
York.
like a hockey rivalry and a comedy rivalry.
Comedy and hockey. That would be good. That's some sort of comedy hockey night between the U.S. and Canada. We could
No.
figure out who's the best in both.
No.
No?
I don't think you want to see comedians skate. I don't know.
No, we'd have our best comedians go against their best comedians, and the best hockey players go against their best hockey players.
And whoever loses gets cross-checked across the boards by the hockey team.
It'll be good though. Did you found out it's just a regular open mic or?
Yeah, there's no way I can just. I see some people post on the Facebook groups, "Hey, I'm nobody you've heard of. I'm from out of town. Can you put me on your shows
And they're like,
and
sure.
stuff?"
Yeah.
I don't have the balls to kind of do that yet. But I'm just gonna go to an open mic.
Are you relatively new, or are you?
I started 3 years ago, but I didn't get through 1 year before the pandemic hit.
Oh, okay,
it's
so you're still new,
I'm
yeah.
kind of like year and a half, if you want to count it that way.
You might be able to find some bar shows that are not quite open mic, somewhere in the middle. It's like not a club, which
Yeah.
that might be hard to get a spot, but you probably have to know someone. But there could be a group or something you could find, just so that it's not like open mic is just like, oh my God, there's a homeless guy on after me, So
I'm good with mics. It's
okay,
fine.
you're like, all right.
When did you, speaking of open mic to professional transition, when did that happen? Like, someone at Nick's come
No,
and say,
so
we want you on, or?
me and the person I was married to, we lived in LA.
Oh,
For,
you moved.
Yeah. He's like, let's go. So my mother dies. Like, we start dating, and then he's like, he was making a film. He's making an independent film in LA. He hadn't been making it when we were dating, but he was going.
Yeah.
So he went to LA. He left and got an apartment, and was shooting what eventually became his movie about the car business called Suckers. So he was out shooting that. So eventually I was like, well, fucking yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? And then we got married. I don't know. And that happened.
That little
And-
detail.
Yeah. And then about a year and a half or so after being in LA, I started working at this art gallery. I was working at this cabaret as a waitress. I had a big art studio that I was painting at still. That's when I decided to try mics. So I was doing these characters, which is funny because I kind of I didn't do characters for years and years and years. And in the middle of the pandemic, now I'm doing all these characters. I'm like wearing a hat,
you're doing
and I'm this
videos.
guy, Rocco, how you doing? I'm like, I'm such a dick. Anyway, but then that was all characters. That's what I had written. And this sweet friend of mine, Trina from Denmark, who was in my art studio, she came as my audience. Because I knew she would be, like, supportive. Like, you need to pick someone who, even if you bomb, you're not going to feel embarrassed in front of. Like, they love you anyway.
No, right.
And so she came with me. I did a sushi bar. And, you know, I don't even know if anybody's listening. But I did it, and I felt great after. I was so excited. And so that started me off doing, like, laundromats. Yeah, so I went from sushi bar to laundromat.
Wow.
But I also did like, like the belly room at the
Store?
at the Comedy Store, the other room, the little annex room at the Ice House. I did some pretty good rooms. Then cut to maybe another year after that, we moved back to Boston, and anyway. So once we moved back to Boston, I got offered work to MC at the Comedy Connection, Rhode Island. So it was $75 a set, which is funny because now I don't even think they pay the MCs. It's like, how is the pay works?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I kind of got in, and then I started working Nick's and then Giggles, and so
took off.
So it was good to come back because it was like you get more what's the one am I trying to say? You get more stature like working clubs here, whereas LA it's almost like New York. There's so many comics, and nobody's gonna let you get a leg up.
I was going to say it's a hard place to start.
No one's gonna.
I bet, right?
It was, but like the mics, you know, when you're doing mics, it's the same everywhere. I did this one place called Westwood Brewery, which is really great because I had audience, and it was, So surprisingly, it was a good place for that level. But when you want to go to the next level, it's a bad place, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're going to stay at the bottom rung.
That's where you are, right?
Unless you have an agent, then you can do the Laugh Factory or what's the one on Melrose? I can't think of the name of that. The Improv, maybe the Improv. But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I've often thought about that, whether it's to be a performer or a writer, like how important agents are. Are they still, do you think they're still, if you get an agent, you're way better off?
If you get a manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's everything because, you know, it takes days and days and days of sending emails and hitting people up and being on the phone. And you might send 50 emails and then make 25 phone calls.
Right.
You might get one.
Right. But if you have a manager doing all that.
The manager has connections already. He knows who to call. Right. And people call him and say, we need a comic for this week. And, you know, it also just helps you get to the next level. If you're not worried about that, you're not spending time or you know, expending energy trying to get work.
Right.
Now you can just work on your act.
Right.
It's literally everything.
Right. So how do you get a manager? I need one of those.
Yeah.
But that's, again, it's like the writers and agents. There's, say you have 1 million comics and you have, you know, 40 managers, although they're all trying to get the same one. So it's really, is that what it is?
I mean, they have
problem?
a stable,
like,
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I haven't even pursued it, but I definitely have had the thought, well, if I had a manager, I could set up all these college, you know, speaking / humor / cancer awareness gigs that I want to do.
Well, for speaking, it's different than comedy. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think you'd have to go through NACA to do speaking. You could contact the college directly.
Yeah, I've tried.
Have you? Yeah, I mean.
Oh well.
We can talk about it after.
What have been some of your best gigs or worst gigs or gigs that you thought were going to suck and you show up and it's like, oh my God, awesome.
That's every show.
Yeah, that's every show.
Every show I show up, I'm like, this is the fucking gig.
So.
One place I got to, there was a cow on top of the place. I was like, oh my God, there's actually a cow on top of the building right now. The bull run? It was a bull. The bull run. But actually, and it looks like you're like, I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's a bull. Like, oh my God. And then you go in and you realize it's like this beautiful, it kind of has wood paneling like this. It looks like, you know, it's very like farmhousey, but they have weddings there and it's actually a real venue. But when I pulled up, I'm like, damn it. But that's every gig.
Yeah.
Some gigs that I thought would be I mean, I love working Vegas because when they imploded my job, by the way. They imploded the Riviera. The whole casino is gone. I know. Bummer. And I've worked at a few places since then, but like they're not consistent. Vegas changes a lot. That's another whole story. But I liked there because I would have a pink hotel room and it would overlook the pool. And I'd be like, I'm just going to, I always worked a lot in an office like while doing comedy. So when I would go to Vegas, it was like, oh my God, I don't have to do anything today. I can sit and smoke cigarettes and like drink coffee at the pool. And that's it. And then I would go for a walk. I'd walk down the strip and go shopping, and then I would take a nap, and then I'd go to the show. And then there was 2 shows a night. So 14 shows in a week. So the pay was good, but also at the end of the week, you wrote new bits.
Oh, yeah.
You're like so sharp at the end.
Probably just experiences of being there, too. You're writing stuff.
Yeah. You're writing stuff about Vegas. Yeah. It's like it keeps the juices flowing. Yeah.
I was talking to someone about how important momentum is with like writing, and no matter what you're doing. And and even if whether we're talking about writing or exercising or any activity, if you're doing it every day, then eventually that's just what you...
Except when you get old and your foot hurts after running and you're like, oh my God.
They're right. There are limitations.
My foot hurts the whole foot. Like the ankle, it's not just, it's plantar fasciitis. It's like my ankle, my underneath the ankle over here, the arch, the thing.
Yeah, there are momentum busters, right? But then you gotta overcome them, right? Or
I don't know how you
seek alternate.
I don't know how you fix getting old.
Seek alternate activities. I don't know.
No, I know.
Have you been to a doctor about it?
No.
Oh, well, that might help.
I think it's just called.
Did it come on
older.
Suddenly, or you're just getting?
Oh, I've had it. It's like once you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
It's like the bane. It's like I would have to do yoga like every day. There was a guy, actually, my chiropractor in New York, never even touched my foot. He does network, barely touches you at all, and and then my foot was better.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Wow is right. He started network with Donnie Epstein, but that's another whole. You can look it up, people.
What is
kids.
it? No,
it's called network chiropractic.
Oh, okay.
They don't crack you. They just kind of energy, like they just.
So it's almost like Reiki.
It's chiropractic. They're doctors, and they're lengthening your spine. They're just like doing it with very, very little touch.
Oh, okay. So they are touching you. Sorry, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not just kind of floating over you, but it's. Yeah. I sort of see Reiki as an extension of massage, but this is more they're a doctor.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. But it came back.
You just, I went for the nicest run about, 5 days ago, and I was like, oh, I fucking love running. Sorry, can I curse on here? Sorry.
Yes.
Bleep.
Yes, you can.
I love running, and, I ran probably 3 miles at a steady pace, not too fast, and I've just been paying for it.
Wow.
I know.
Skating? Is skating okay?
Skating sort of out.
Oh,
I went
really?
rollerblading. It was really bad.
Oh,
this is like when I was still in New York.
Okay. Oh, that's too bad.
I know. Well, that's another story for another day.
It's so funny. Like when I now when I go to the doctor, I complain about something. Like this has happened 2 times that I'll be like, oh, this hurts or this hurts, and the doctor's line is, well, when you play hockey at that age. I'm like, oh, thanks. So you're basically telling me I'm old and I shouldn't be doing these things.
That's that old joke. Doctor, it hurts when I go like this.
Yeah,
well, don't
do
like
that.
It's true.
One-liner. It's so funny, one-liner. Like, that's what a comedy used to be, right? Just a bunch of, you go up and say one-liners.
Well, yeah, a lot of the guys from the
original
who came out of vaudeville and did that upstate New York Catskill stuff was like that. Yeah, but then it evolved really into people wanting to say something, and I think that's kind of an interesting. It definitely evolved a lot. Yeah. Now I don't even know what it is anymore. You can't say the word.
Well, then Carlin's 7 words. That
7 words.
Just for friggin', could you say them all like that? Do you know what they are?
No, but it's like, I think I know some of them. Yeah, I was thinking the first 4, but then, right, Carlin has this list. It's the incomplete list of unpolite words. And he's so brilliant. I know, and that's his thing. He likes to write lists. But there's a science to it, because me and one of my gays in New York, we were at a bar, and I was telling him about this list. And so we found a PDF of it on the phone.
Yeah.
So we were reading it aloud. We got not even halfway through, and we both were crying. There was no noise coming out of us. We were laughing so hard. How is he that? Now we're just doing it. We're not. It's not even him performing.
Right. You're just looking at it,
reciting it, just reciting it. It was so.
He has one of his I want to say it might have been his last HBO one. It's Bad For You, I think it's called. He comes out and he, he's like 70 some at this point, and he's like, I'm a blah 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 blah. I'm a non, and and he just like goes on this huge list of who he is in a succinct, brilliant, funny,
so good.
And I'm like, how do you even memorize? Like,
my buddy's friends with his producer,
Oh.
which I can't think of the guy's name, but I think they worked together for like most of the specials. And he was definitely very, he was like word for word.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to go off. I like to just be in the, like, say stuff in the moment and then go back to bits. I really have been doing that a lot.
He had command of the English language.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He was a wordsmith.
Well,
so.
and it's funny, and they show in this documentary on HBO that at some point he kind of dove too far into words, and everyone's like, what he's talking about beans now, like what's going on? And he almost like folded in on himself, and like wasn't, there was a bit, and people were saying bits of like Carlin's done, like and then but then he was like, oh really, I'll show them, and I'm gonna really like write, I'm gonna write like I know how I am able to write, and then his next show just crushed.
Yeah, but and the other thing with him was, what people love to say that, well, he got real political at the end. He got real preachy. It's like, yeah, well, here's the thing is he had to do he probably was contractually obligated to do that hour for HBO or something, or maybe he put the pressure on himself, but it probably was, right? So when he's on tour, he's on the road doing his hour, he's working on the next hour. So he's going to have segments of 15 minutes, like whatever it is, I'm just saying, any amount of time, where he's like working on the new stuff. And the preachy stuff eventually got, he just was able to do anything. He could be silly.
Right.
He could be dirty. He did I wrote something as an ode to him, like the difference between dogs and cats, because it's like, so like really, but then even he did it. It makes it okay I just think that that's wrong to say that he was preachy, because he was probably, and once in a while you'll see him. People have said the whole set was bad, but give the guy a break, okay? Like he's like
when he sets
done it for like many decades, and he's trying new things. I mean, that's what keeps us in it, I think. And so that to me is the essence of it. Like he's not allowed to fail.
Any
because
performer is not batting like a thousand.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the top ones.
And also, if you're trying to play it safe, that's like the definition of bad art.
Right.
Especially if you're trying to placate the audience. That's the definite. Like, you're trying to make, movies that really just work to the audience they want. They're bad.
Yeah.
They're not saying anything. They're not provoking you to think, differently. So anyway, he gets a pass for all his bad.
How many comedians list him as one of their influences? Most, I would say.
I mean, but people are dumb too. Like my friends are like, who do you like? And then I'll be like, well, we had this conversation. I was like, Carlin. And they were like, really? Because don't you think it should be? I'm like, shut up. You don't even.
What, you're telling me who I should like?
Yes. Yeah, people suck. It's just, I get so mad about it.
Yeah, your favorite comic should be this person.
Then they mention like Amy Schumer. I'm like, that should not be in the same universe as Carlin. Come on.
Who did I see?
Why do people think that I should like her? I mean, the show was good.
Who did I see? Why can't I think of her name? She has red hair. She has talk about overcoming trauma. Why can't I think of her name?
Because I can't think of anybody's name, by the way.
But like, so I saw her when I did my 48 state trip. I did a lot of shows, but I also, if I was in a city and there was a show I wanted to go to, April Macy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, April Macy. Yeah.
I saw who I like. Well, I went to see her because I enjoyed her stuff. But her first, and maybe it's because she was working on her, new thing or whatever. Her first 20 minutes was, "I'm a slut," and I'm like, well, I don't. Maybe the one joke I find that funny, but like 20 minutes of that,
a lot of women do that.
Yeah, but
I think it's because I've dissected it.
Okay, there we go.
I think it's because society, right? We're all socialized, and sometimes I really don't like how we're socialized, because it definitely works against female comics. It's not that female comics aren't good; it's that people's perception of how women should be is what we're fighting against. Like, so I dress like a golf instructor on stage, and people go, and like sometimes maybe it's because I used to do that because I would go running or something and then go to the vault.
Right, yeah.
And somebody's like, "Is that what you're wearing?" I'm like, "Excuse me," especially if it was a guy saying that. I'm
Right,
like, what? Like you would
right.
never say that to a man. Is that what you're wearing?
Well, people said that to me, but
Okay, well, it's different.
Don't wear shorts on stage.
Yeah, the shorts. No, but so women, because like there's a lot of Asian women who act slutty and they think that they're so like it's there's so much ingenuity or whatever.
Right,
it's like no, that you're because women aren't supposed to talk about their sexuality. Women aren't supposed to be sexualized.
Right.
Well, no, pop stars and stuff are sexualized, but women aren't supposed to talk about like romping around and whatever, and sleeping around. So when you do, it's almost like a shock humor joke, right? It's like giving the audience what they're not expecting.
Right.
But that's not skill.
Right.
There's nothing to that. That's like telling some dick jokes. It's like you're just trying to get the laugh. And the women who don't realize,
and even if it's a nervous,
if
it's a nervous laugh, even
the women don't realize that that's what they're doing.
Right.
That's easy laugh.
Right.
That's like someone who's heavy set who does a half an hour about being heavy set.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's my big long rant about that.
But it's true. Like it's funny. Like I think I was taking a sexuality course undergrad, and the teacher asked us to list how many negative sexually related words are there to describe a female, and there's a huge list.
Wow.
All right, so what's the one for a guy?
Yeah, gigolo.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There's one.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I mean, I just I'm sort of slamming them for being dirty, women for being dirty, because I'm looking at it
because it's easy.
It's
a
crutch.
Easy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but
well, they want to be likable, right? Or you feel is that part of it? Trying to be self-deprecating in a way, or
maybe, yeah. I mean, but I just think that you can do that in so many other creative ways.
There's other ways to suck as a person. Vagina. No pun intended. Yeah.
So I don't know. I shouldn't be hyper.
You have some. Do you have sexual? I'm trying to think of.
No,
I mean, you have.
I'm not having sex, so there's no way I could be talking
that's
about.
The joke.
I actually do talk about like that. I just don't have any boyfriends or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm sort of way too far the other way.
Yeah, right.
So I can be sort of snobby about it.
And what do you? Is that what you draw mostly for your material, like just life experiences, like, or news? Like you don't get too political. I mean, you have.
Well, the thing about the news cycle is that the jokes die. So if you work on them a lot, and then you can't even use it a few months later, which the news cycle's so quick now. Yeah. That but yeah, I mean, I think. I don't know. It's just not my thing, It's like it doesn't interest me, I just sort of write. I write like when I get ideas, and then I go on stage and try to hone it.
So you don't have a writing, like, this is my writing time for the day. I'm going to write.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, that's right. I have that.
That's good. But you were talking about, I wanted to say this was earlier because you were talking about like the momentum.
Yeah.
I was writing a pilot with someone, and I got to tell you, it was like only like not even a week, but like going to the library and working, and then getting it in the right format, and like writing all this dialogue. It's like I was having all these intuitive thoughts. Like it's just like opens up a part of you, but you got to keep.
That's what I'm saying.
Gotta keep
like
going.
there is the thought, and I kind of believe this, that there's whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it the muse out in there, or whether you see a person will do it, but there's an energy out there that's a creative thing, and you have to open yourself up to it.
You got to be doing it.
Yeah,
even if like a bunch of days you bomb and nothing happens.
Right, or whether it's comedy or like for writing, even if I sat in front of my computer for an hour, even if I wrote a paragraph, I did write. I wrote today. So like it's an accomplishment. Doesn't matter that I didn't write 3
pages.
They
all say that, all the writers. If you show up every day.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough though. Self-discipline.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. Well, I haven't skated in I've rollerbladed a couple times, but I haven't been to a hockey rink in 2 years to skate.
I know. I know. Well, part of it's because they were closed.
Right.
Everybody thought we were going to die because coronavirus. It's running down Madison Avenue. It's going to get you. It's so ridiculous.
2 years later. I mean, did anyone think this was going to be 2 years?
I mean, I think so. I think.
I mean, I remember it happened in March, and I was like, well, at least in September when school starts, we'll be fine. Like in 2020, like I thought that.
I don't know why. Well, I thought, when it was first happening, like what the hell? But I did sort of feel like people were talking about it being a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second year was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Now I think most people are just like, I just don't care anymore. Like, not that I don't care, but I'm not gonna let it. I'm still gonna live my life, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's sort of over.
It's getting right. It's getting.
Now what's going to happen is the tide's going to turn and everybody's going to realize that we were lied to.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. It's already happening. I mean, there's lots of doctors that disagree with the whole narrative. Not just the narrative, but like the protocol.
Yeah.
The protocol, like it's called the Great Barrington something agreement, where it's like, I don't know, 250,000 doctors are signing this declaration. That's what it's called, the Great Barrington Declaration, and they're just saying that there's other measures that could have been taken that were quashed, like ivermectin, and other treatments.
How do you boost your immune system? Where was that in the news?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It was just so. It was. Yeah, that's the next couple of years. Is with all the lies are going to come up, and then I get to say, "I told you so," to people. No, I mean,
but I mean, people say that about cancer and diabetes, right? They're not, There are a lot of people that benefit from these diseases being around.
Yeah. Right.
So what's really going on?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, especially type 2 diabetes. Like, that's
that's diet, pretty much.
Right, exactly.
That's what you're eating.
But what are you told? You're told everything has sugar in it, and everything you're told to eat those things that make you get type 2 diabetes, but it doesn't.
Cereal.
So it's like set up.
Yeah,
like
I know.
The system is set up for us to be sick.
Yeah, that's right.
And guess what? A lot of people are sick.
Oh my God. Now we're really on a funny
topic.
We're
now that the hour's just about up, we're talking about world conspiracies
and
now. Have you, speaking of conspiracies and things in the news, did you, because it happened 2 years ago during the pandemic, have you seen any of the UFO videos?
No.
The Pentagon, tons of pilots, and now the Pentagon has officially said, yep, there's things flying in the air. We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
We don't know how they work. We don't know where they're from.
I know that they have admitted that there's UFOs.
Right. Well, I never thought that would happen in my lifetime.
Well, they're probably getting us ready for some catastrophe.
Right? Well, there are conspiracy theorists. Never thought we were going to go down this
but it's not really. I don't.
Well, that's what I'm
saying.
Well, there are people that think they're going to fake an alien landing, so we can.
We faked the moon landing, so why not?
Yo, we were talking about this. I'm saying. I was just telling Mark that I think they actually went to the moon, but then faked some of the footage.
Yes,
that's what I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, what we saw wasn't it. Yeah, they probably have been to the moon.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's little things like the spacesuit doesn't fit in the hole. That thing that comes up like this.
Yeah.
Like whatever. There's like little funny,
there's
funny
things that don't make
doohickeys.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot
funny doohickeys. I'm so scientific.
That's the official NASA thing. So is this gonna? So speaking of the pandemic, is it gonna end? When is it gonna end? Or are we in
I think it's
perpetual?
Over.
Yeah. I don't know.
The people are being like Nazis about mandates and boosters and stuff.
Are they?
Yeah.
Still?
There's a guy who was on like you can go on Twitter and stuff. I don't know the guy's name. He was a Canadian comedian, which is a funny title. He had 2 shots, and then he was really, really sick. See, people don't talk about the vax injured, which VAERS is underreported and all this. So he was really, really sick. In the hospital, on this hospital bed, he's making a selfie video, going, "I am not getting the third. I am not getting the third shot. Oh my God, I wouldn't have gotten 2. Oh my God!" And then he died.
Jeez.
People get vax injured. No one's talking about it.
Well, it's rare, right?
No, it's not rare.
Well, rare as far as the actual percentage of people.
No. Well,
I've never met it. I know a lot of people that got shots and didn't.
Well, okay. Yeah. I know, but they like that word rare, which I think is not accurate.
Well, that's what the one thing I learned as a psych mate.
I think the number was like 250,000 reported deaths, I think, but that's like old news. I was reading that. So I don't know what the number is now, but people being vax injured is in the millions. And so, and abroad, I didn't know we were going to start talking about this, but
neither did I.
Abroad,
we're almost done anyway. So
their VAERS, which is the vaccine injured reporting site, is not called VAERS. It's a different thing.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, they're always underreported because, like, the doctor would have to fill out a form, and it's a big pain and whatever. But over there, it's more accurate. My friend, she's like so on this. She's got books and she's like really reading up on it. But you could do your own research and find out what these numbers are. But there's more people that are vax injured. Like that's why I say it's in the millions. Because if you're going to count here,
and other people, that's the one thing I learned as a psych major was you could have a study say whatever you want.
Yes, right.
Speaking of like the word rarely, like you can,
rarely.
you have a study say whatever you want it to.
And
were you gonna say something, Mark? Sorry.
No.
Oh, I thought you were.
He goes, I'm just.
I rarely
smiling
speak,
at
Dave.
You're like, I'm just looking at you two
Rarely.
weirdos talking about the. No, but what about all the athletes that are dropping dead? The myocarditis, they're getting, it goes to your heart. I mean, it's a lot. When you start really reading up on that, then you go, oh my God. Yeah. Maybe some of the vaccines were saline. Like,
I think it's like anything. Like there's this story, and there's both extremes to every story, right? There's what we're hearing in the media and the doctors and whatever, and there's the absolute conspiracy that's saying, you got injected with a tracer when you got your vaccine, but the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? Does that make sense? Or,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we'll find, like you're saying, we'll find out years.
It's coming out.
It's
now.
starting to come out now.
It's coming
so we'll
out
find
now.
out.
I mean, doctors got their licenses taken away because they gave people preventative measures instead of that's Nazism, right?
Something's
that's
happened.
fascism.
Right. Yeah.
Not Nazism, fascism. Totalitarianism. That's what that is.
Right.
I think we should all be scared to death. I really do. I really do, because they got away with that, and it was a big lie.
Yeah. Well, big lies.
The
truth has a way of making its way out. Right?
That's true. That's a nice positive note.
And we can end on that. Thank you so much for coming, Stacy. We have to come back and we'll discuss further things and all that
we
stuff.
will. We
all
can talk about more gigs and gigs and all kinds of stuff.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.